Hello everybody, welcome to this full-on Heart of Mercury Retrograde weekly forecast for the week of November 8th through the 15th of, I did say November, right? 2019. That's how messed up this is. I have actually tried recording this several times, and I suppose one could say it is a Mercury retrograde aspect that came on display, but it was really Henry, my cat, who kept needing to come and sit on my lap, which then was preventing me from actually reaching any of the cards on the table in front of me, which I know you can't see right now, because for some reason, to me, it's more important that you see the wall behind me than the table. But that's because I'm going to lift them up and show them to you. So I'm having a whole conversation with myself. All of these dynamics that are coming out in my personality right now are covered in this reading, trust me. It's a clusterfuck of letting go of old program beliefs that no longer serve us, old behaviors that are no longer a part of us, but that in these Mercury retrogrades tend to come up to the surface and manifest in our behavior in order to show us how far we've come and why those things don't serve us, and to sort of actually understand that they have been eliminated and that they're only coming out because of learned patterns that when we're not being conscious and we're not present and mindful, these things can still pop up and disturb the flow. Very much like the feeling of having cat hair all over your face, which I feel like Henry decided to do specifically just to mess up my reading even further. I love him very much, but really today he has been stuck to me like tar. Probably because I'm traveling tomorrow and he senses that. So anyway, getting back to this reading, as I said, the Mercury retrograde energy, I thought that I had a handle on it. I thought that we had it all figured out, that we'd understood that this was the third of these three Mercury retrogrades in water signs, Scorpio, that it would be all about like the fruition of like everything and blah 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 blah. Well, that is very true, but sometimes fruition does not come in the form of an award being handed over as if to say, there you go, you graduated. Instead, we have to earn our stripes in real time. And that is exactly what is going to be happening in the next week. Our underlying energy, I'm not going into any more astrology. There are so many like fucked up things right now, to be perfectly honest with you, that are more like tests, and there are lots of good things. We actually talked about them in last week's reading, and you know, when Venus and Jupiter cross over the galactic center, that will be a huge pinnacle, and it's all good. It's all good stuff. There's lots of good stuff. But right now, there is also a lot of like slightly disharmonious, slightly edgy, slightly self-doubt inducing influences to contend with. So, because I don't want to focus on those too much, because we should really focus on the positive, the rest of it is all stuff that we have to experience anyway, and in all frankness, we've already done the work, so it really shouldn't be that hard, but you may feel yourself being a little bit challenged here and there. Moving on to this week's reading, our underlying energy the Ten of Pentacles. This is all about coming into our full power and coming into an understanding where we no longer have to be the child in our own lives, and we step into a position of being the ruler of our domain, the master of our domain, and therefore in a position of being able to share our wealth in whichever form that manifests in your life or has manifested throughout this cycle coming to a conclusion, to be able to share it with the world around you, with other people, with new generations even. This denotes an idea of coming into a generational turnover. It is, wealth is measured in many, many different ways. Most people think of money, but that's really only a tiny part of it. There are lots and lots of other ways that wealth manifests. Knowledge is a big part of it. And when we tap into this fullness of who we really are, we open up a brand new portal to a new cycle of existence that will essentially invite in new challenges, new opportunities, and new people. So I guess that's a good thing. But whichever way I look at it this week, I'm going to seem discombobulated. Because, frankly, I am. Let's look at our past. Ten of Pentacles. Oh, what the fuck is wrong with me? Ten of Wands. I need to focus. I'm getting really sidetracked right now. Give me 1 minute. I'm going to collect myself and refocus. Our past. Our underlying energy. The Ten of Wands. I feel like I'm carrying these 10 wands and it's time to put them down, right? I mean, how long are we going to carry these things? They don't serve any purpose anymore. This is the card of the end of a cycle. This is the card indicating whatever fucking ones you're carrying on your back, emotional, physical, material, whatever they are, you gotta put them down. Because guess what? They're there, they exist, but they don't serve you anymore. And they need to be filed under lessons from the past. And we need to become determined to understand that the new journey, the new portal that we're moving into, we're gonna eventually accumulate another 10 of these. So you don't wanna have 20, can't count, but that's 20, You don't wanna do that. Clarified by the Princess of Cups, which is the Page of Cups, and the Five of Wands. So it couldn't be any clearer. The Princess of Cups is reversed on top of that. This is a card of immaturity. This is a card of not knowing yourself in context of your experiences. This is when we're experiencing our life without that sense of the Ten of Pentacles, of full empowerment and embodying the fullness of our experiences and no longer needing somebody else to guide us or somebody else to tell us what to do, but to come into full self-management. And because this is clarifying the Ten of Wands and it was in reverse, it's basically telling us that that's gone. That is what the source of carrying these 10 wands is. It's being in that place of wanting to remain small, wanting to not step in. We talked about last week, like, not allowing other people to make us feel small or to keep us small. This is now about understanding that in this last week, we've been working on understanding how we ourselves keep ourselves small, taking responsibility for that, no longer being in the Five of Wands energy of looking outside of ourselves for where the conflict is coming from where the discontentment and the imbalances come from. They come from within at this point. When we've done all of this work and we know ourselves, anything that's getting in our way is coming from within. Because it's how we're processing it that is keeping us from stepping into our full power. So, drop the 10 wands. We are dropping the 10 wands because I'm doing this when this will actually be our underlying past energy of this last week that we're coming out of, essentially. And the entire way that affects the cycle that we're ending. I'm just going to keep moving on because, as you can see, I'm a little all over the place. But I feel like that's just what the energy is. That's what this Mercury Retrograde in Scorpio is. It's like 1 minute you feel focused and you feel calm and you're like on a smooth path, and then the next minute it's like, what about this? What about this? Oh my god, I feel like this. Oh my god, I can't sleep. Oh my god, I feel like I want to eat too much sugar. Oh my god, I want to work out for 3 hours. Just all over the place. Meditate. I did meditate before I did this video. It doesn't seem that way, but I really did. And it was a really good meditation. Maybe that's why I am actually so amped up. And I just need to focus it into that Ten of Pentacles energy. See, I am playing out right now that Princess of Cups energy. I'm being a child getting in my own way. It probably makes for better viewing, so at least it's funny. Sort of. What did we talk about last week? We had this Wheel of Fortune. Here it is in our underlying past energy. This is the central card to our underlying energy. Good job. The tide has turned. We are in a new energy cycle. The wheel is shifting slowly. And how is it clarified? By the Seven of Swords and the Devil. Yikes. Well, because it's in the past, the good news is that, and it does get clarified in our present, so stay tuned for that. But basically, what we were just talking about, that energy, how it's been holding us back through these two energies. The Devil is being out of alignment with ourselves and letting outside elements control our well-being, which means not allowing ourselves to feel empowered in our well-being. This is drugs, alcohol, sex, food, anything that's out of balance. I mean, it can be codependent relationships, it can be abusive relationships, it can be anything that is keeping us out of balance. And this Wheel of Fortune is taking that out of our lives. Part of this growing up process that the whole of this reading is all about is telling us that we are going to have to start being in control of ourselves in ways that we perhaps, that little child that we were just talking about it's going to be like kicking and screaming, throwing a tantrum, one last tantrum maybe, deceiving his or herself, himself or herself. See, even my vocabulary and my use of the English language has reverted to that of a 7-year-old child. Anyway, we gotta step out of that, and we are stepping out of it. That's happening as I do this video. We gotta face those aspects of ourselves. We have to stop lying to ourselves, we have to stop deceiving ourselves, and we have to stop getting in our own way and pretending that we don't have the power. Instead, we are sitting around going like, oh no, somebody else has that power over me, so I get to play small, I get to like be silly, I can get to not take responsibility, I get to tell myself that I can't have access to the things that I want, that I'm not, you know, something else is preventing me from doing it. Well, no. Apparently not. Apparently not. Apparently we are doing it to ourselves. And whatever your devil is, right now is the time to figure out how not to let that devil get in your way anymore. You know, I'm not telling everybody that they should like stop drinking alcohol or they should stop whatever it is that they do, smoking pot, like cigarettes, like, well, you shouldn't be doing any of those things in excess or in the case of some of those things at all. But I know that this energy is playing up. Last night I ate like 5 cookies and 2 glasses. I had 2 glasses of wine. That's a lot of sugar. I know it's not good for me. I know it doesn't serve my higher self, and I know that it's preventing me from being in the fullness of my higher spiritual self. But it seems like fun at the time, and it seems like, oh well, I'll go to the gym tomorrow, blah blah blah. Well, you know, it's true, you can counter these things, but at the same time, you're not really doing yourself any favors. So, that's what I'm talking about. We also have the world, that is the cycle ending as well. So basically we've got that 10 of Wands, drop it. The burden leads to the Wheel of Fortune, which in turn leads to the ending of this cycle. And what was this cycle all about? Well, now we're getting the clarity on it because it's in the past underlying energy. It was the Hierophant in reverse. The Hierophant in reverse is all about coming into, again, not looking at the outside forces, at the traditional structures, at organized religions, at systems of beliefs that stand outside of ourselves, not looking at those as being what dictate the direction of our life. And okay, so that on the one hand is, you know, placing that power outside of ourselves, which then in turn allows us to play small. All of this should be in past tense, because this is the past, but it's still being worked through a little bit right now, which is why I keep going into the present. And then on the other hand, the Magician, which is the understanding and the recognition that we have the 4 elements. We have the wand, we have the sword, we have the pentacle, and we have the, the cup, sorry. We have the 4 elements, which is also earth, wind, air, water. We are the magician. We are the alchemist. We have everything we need in order to step into our full power. So that is what this ending of a cycle all comes down to. I've talked about it several times, about the shift in Chiron from Pisces to Aries, which was the shift from victimhood into self-individuation and self-empowerment. You know, there's no graduation point that is definitive. It's a new cycle of understanding. We are in the individuation process of our healing, which means stepping outside of victimhood. But that doesn't mean that it's not like, you know, I mean, that magician holds a wand that carries all that power of all those elements, but at the same time, sometimes that is gonna go haywire. It's like all over the place, you know, like chaos, like destruction. And sometimes with mastery, we hold out the wand and it creates exactly what we want. But it is a mastery, and we are at stage 0, actually. I was going to say 1, but it's actually 0. Remember, we got the Fool last week. 0! That's a good place to be. In our present, what do we have? The Ace of Swords, clarified by the 8 of Wands. The Ace of Swords is again about coming into a full intellectual understanding of ourselves and our power. And it is understanding the responsibility that comes with that. Therefore, learning to harness communication, be impeccable with our word, understand the power that our ideas can have, and understand that intellect is the tool by which we are able to create and cause change responsibly. It's a double-edged sword. That means that, again, if you don't take your responsibility seriously, you can fuck up, and you can fuck other people up, and you can fuck the world up. So, is that what you want to do? Probably not. Clarified by the 8 of Wands, the 8 of Wands is the card of communication. So basically we're going to be coming into a week of a lot of communication, a lot of words. A lot of words. I don't know what that means, but that's what I'm getting. A lot of words. Maybe you need to write a little bit more, or maybe you need to consciously plan your communication with people. Make sure that it is structured in a way that is serving everyone's needs, and you may find yourself like, I mean, even though we're in the middle of Mercury Retrograde, which usually does affect communication in a negative sense, or makes it more difficult or less smooth, it may just be that there's a lot of communication coming in suddenly as we move towards like the latter part of Mercury Retrograde. There may be a bunch of pent up messaging that comes suddenly in. We then have the King of Wands. Again, these are all cards of coming into not just power, but the kings are, they don't fuck with anybody, and nobody fucks with them, because they know their full value. When you know who you are, and you know the value of your ideas and your inspiration, you carry that within yourself, and then you seek out ways to funnel that into the world around you. By delegating, by inspiring others to take action, by including others in your master plans, by opening yourself up to allow your inspiration to flow and to become an infinity cycle. So that means that you inspire and then you're inspired in return, and you don't have to feel that the way that somebody else inspires you is hierarchical. It is, you know, you are you, and you know your power, and you know your aim. And it was clarified by the Four of Cups upside down. And, you know, we talked about Four of Cups last week, and it was upright last week, so I guess that's the progress that we've made. And that is, because the King of Wands is like the master of inspiration, the master of self-confidence, of self-belief. And the Four of Cups is that jaded little, like, I'm sorry I'm swearing so much this week, I have no idea what it is. It's that little child coming out, so bear with me. But that little fucker who has, you know, 3 cups in front of him and doesn't want any of those cups. And there's a 4th one floating on the air being handed to him, and he's like, I don't see that. I am focused on everything I don't have. And that's coming to an end, because guess what? You come into that empowerment and you let that go. It is also I feel about becoming focused and taking yourself more seriously, taking your ideas more seriously, and starting to have a more streamlined approach to how those ideas are going to play out in the world. What are you going to do to make yourself stand out unless you step out? And it was followed by, and of course we've made this graduation from the past energies into the present, and we talked about that World card, the ending, and also the Wheel of Fortune, changing away from the devil, away from those codependent, addictive, self-destructive, imbalanced aspects of ourselves. And here we have it at the end of our present energies, at the conclusion of our present energies, the devil in reverse, clarified by the King of Swords, so another king. And the King of Swords is master of truth. The King of Swords is master of intellect. The King of Swords doesn't let himself get out of alignment. The King of Swords knows what's good for him and what's good for his path and his legacy. And breaking those chains is happening whether you like it or not. There's no tower energy in here, so the likelihood is that you're doing this voluntarily, but you got to think long and hard about that, because it's not necessarily an obvious one. Yeah, if you want to quit smoking, great. Yeah, if you want to like cut back on drinking, great. Yeah, if you want to like stop like living out nightmarish codependent relationship cycles, that's great too. But there may be other like self-destructive aspects that you haven't necessarily even been consciously fighting or seeking to outgrow, and something is going to happen in this week ahead that's going to end a certain type of behavior, and you're going to see it, and you're going to have like an aha moment. And it's pretty much guaranteed, because the first energies of our future are the Ace of Wands, clarified by the Judgment card. Now, the Ace of Wands coming on the the Ace of Wands coming after the King of Wands. This is the tangible offering that fits him. This is ideas, this is inspiration, this is opportunity, this is something tangible coming in by divine intervention. In other words, in giving up this devil energy, the universe conspires to assist in presenting new legacy opportunities. And I keep saying legacy because I forgot to say in the beginning that our underlying energy, that 10 of Pentacles, is about legacy. This is about a person who is planning for the long haul. This is a person who, this is us coming into a new pathway that is going to give us, well, we're actually, like, astrologically speaking, like what we're doing right now is essentially also our next chapter is setting the tone for the next 30 years of our lives, if we're lucky enough to be around that long. And so remember that. It's actually a really reassuring thing that all of these changes that are on the horizon are actually opening us up to a legacy journey, not just some, like, you know, frolic for 5 minutes, whatever that's meant to mean. Next, in our future energy, we had the 5 of Pentacles reversed. Hallelujah! That is that frickin' poverty consciousness gone for good. Bye-bye, poverty consciousness. And this is coming as a result of acknowledging this legacy path and acknowledging that we are the master of our own domain and that we can no longer play small to ourselves. And we gotta be our own one-man orchestra with a repeat Ace of Swords here to clarify that, and the 2 of Swords. Now, the fact that we got the Ace and the 2 of Swords basically is, you know, the 2 of Swords was on the left, so this is like the energy that is on its way out, and this is the energy that replaces it. When you have 2 of Swords, that's a choice, but it's a blindfolded choice. It's an uninformed choice. It's a choice that we feel we don't have the power to make, that it's going to be made for us. And the reality is, what we do is, when we come into alignment with ourselves and we recognize our power and we stop trying to fuck ourselves over by not being good to ourselves and respecting ourselves and focusing on the bigger picture that we are capable of, once we step out of the negative cycles, the 2 of Swords disappears because you only choose one. When you make a choice, you eliminate one thing. Well, the thing that you're eliminating is the devil. It's basically like, essentially the whole reading is, do you choose the legacy, the bountiful legacy, the stepping into your own power and making a life for yourself that where you can feed others and give with no limit because you're so plentiful that it doesn't matter how much you give? Or do you want to be caught up in this devil nightmare where nothing's ever enough? You know what? Like, you can never, like, you know, this is compulsion. You know? It's being enchained and compulsive in whatever way. And that stops you from being bountiful because you are always feeling in lack in that Five of Pentacles energy that is now flipped and gone. So thank goodness we are making that decision. Whichever way it is, like I said before, I don't know what your problem is personally. I know where I need to, well, to temper myself. And we go right into that with our last cards, which is, we have the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords is a youthful, fast, inspired, quick thinking, quick acting energy person. This is our new embodiment in the future. Because we've discovered all of these things, and because it is a new cycle, you know, even though we've talked about coming into our king energy and being the master of our domain, when we've dropped those 10 wands and that cycle has ended, the world, and we go back to the zero of being the Fool, we also go back to our youthful energy in this new domain, on this new journey, on this new cycle, because, well, it takes a while to get to be king again. You know, you get to be king once you've accumulated those 10 wands, or those 10 swords, or those 10 whatevers, and when you've done that, you get to start all over again with fresh eyes. And how do we do that? We got the Five of Swords in reverse, which is the end of that deceptive notion of victory at any cost, fighting an ego-driven battle. It's stepping outside of that limitation. And how do we do that? Through temperance, as we were just talking about. Through temperance, coming into balance, recognizing the yin-yang flow, recognizing the darkness and the light within us, and always working towards balancing those elements out. They cannot not exist within us, but it is our responsibility to keep them in balance. We never want one to outweigh the other, because that interrupts the flow of infinity. And finally, we also have, as a clarifier, this is the third clarifier that insisted on coming out, the Six of Wands. I know you can't really see that because it's a big glare. It's a weird time of the evening. It's not evening, it's just really fucking dark here early. The Six of Wands is the Lord of Victory in the Hermetic Tarot, and this is the card of what's the word I'm looking for? Well, I want to say self-validation. In other words, it's when you have reached that point where you are in divine alignment and balance of the masculine and feminine, and master of your flow. In order to get there, there's a missing link in this reading, and the missing link, fortunately, as the universe likes to take care of these messages in the perfect way, comes via our Spirit Animal Oracle card, which this week is, I don't know how, the Turkey Spirit. Turkey, number 61. See that? Okay. Give with gratitude and grace. That's the missing link in this reading. We've talked about all of these things, but what the cards couldn't tell us is how on earth we were going to do all of this work going forward, and what the actual common element is in all of these graduation processes and in this new divine pathway. And so let's get the message from Turkey Spirit. Turkey Spirit's message for you is that you always have the potential for manifesting a rich reality, for the turkey represents generosity and a celebration of abundance through giving to others. Give freely without expectation, and you shall receive. For the manifestation of abundance is happening right now. Align with it by sharing your good fortune with others, whether you give money, loving guidance, the gift of listening, or kindness in any form. Immerse yourself in the flow of generous abundance, being a channel for Turkey Spirit and the desire of Spirit to see all beings experience the blessing of plenty. Give with gratitude and grace from a wellspring of love and compassion, knowing that Spirit will respond by giving you all that you need in this moment and all moments to come. And that is a struggle in this Mercury retrograde energy. And that's kind of what I'm like seeing the imbalance is that we've learned all those lessons. We know what's good for us, but do we have the humility and the wisdom to recognize that by serving others, we serve ourselves? And if you are struggling with this, the protection message of Turkey Spirit is the following. Are you giving in order to receive in kind, keeping tally of how much you have given and what is owed you? This is not the way to experience abundance. When Turkey Spirit is in the protection position, it is a reminder to let go of any perception of scarcity or fear that if you give too much, you will not have enough for yourself. Use your spiritual practices to reconnect with Spirit and remember how it feels to embody abundance, and you will give as much as is needed right now. Know that whatever you need to fill your stores is coming to you right now. Love, prosperity, knowledge, and assistance from allies who are everywhere and want you to be the abundance you seek. Turkey Spirit is here to tell you that everything evens out when you are aligned with the law of abundance, as Spirit wants you to be. Abundance is yours. And that really is the crux of the matter, in the sense that everything on this table, every card that we have just read, has a flow to it if you add into the equation gratitude and grace. And I know coming into this reading, even though I had done a meditation which did actually make me feel a sense of gratitude and grace, I was not consciously focused on those two elements. And when I pulled the cards and Turkey Spirit came out, again, I thought it was a big joke because as we had Spider Spirit last week for Halloween, I felt like Turkey Spirit was again on the nose with Thanksgiving coming up. But I mean, I guess that is essentially also what these seasonal delineations come down to. It's not just an excuse to eat a turkey and get like, you know, like whatever Thanksgiving is meant to mean to you, like get together with family or whatever else. It is about embodying those traits, and that corresponds to the end of harvest, and as we go into winter, going into it with a sense of abundance from within that can only come when we are at peace with everything around us. So I hope that this helps. I will be back in a week's time, and we'll see what the next flow of energy and messages will be about. But for the time being, I leave you with gratitude for watching, and hopefully I can come out of this video with a little bit more grace than I embodied in it. But everything happens for a reason, even when my behavior is slightly wacky in these videos. So I hope you have a fantastic week ahead, and I send you lots and lots of love, and stay warm if you're somewhere where you need to think about staying warm. I'm going somewhere warmer than where I am right now, so hallelujah again. Big kiss.